Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I super appreciate it. This week, we're going to be looking at a game series that I haven't been able to look at, simply because I've been really too afraid of it. We're going to the NES and 8-bit era with Castlevania. Is Castlevania a great game, or am I just really just excited to get a review going? Probably both. Let's start the intro. Ah yes, Castlevania. Hearing the sound of that word not only brings the wonder of the sound of being in a different country or castle, cleverly named Castlevania. And hearing that name, you cannot help but hear the word classic. And it's a shame I never tried this game. During this review, I really liked this game a lot, but more on that later. The story for Castlevania begins with Simon Belmont headed to the castle. What is his task? To take down the monster inside, the evil Dracula. Simon takes it to the end of the castle and takes on the evil Dracula himself, and after taking down Dracula, Simon leaves and his quest is over. With some hilarious credits. Christopher B. I don't know why AVGN hates this so much. I freaking love this. I think this is so hilarious. Now, with the story aside, it is super simple. It is the NES era after all. But for what I got out of it, it's a pretty good story. But how about the gameplay? Did I actually like what I played? Or did I not like what I played? If you have the right strategies involved, you can breeze through this game. You move left and right just like you would in a regular platformer. Press A to jump and B to whip. You can also hit up B to use your special abilities, and using these the right way, they can be stupid broken. For reals, I took down all the bosses with holy water, and those fetchers never stood a chance. You can get upgrades for it as well, but this is usually just for regular enemy kills. When you reach the end with your power-ups, they do pack a mighty punch. And the upgraded whip is super powerful along with its high reach. But the way you get your special abilities as you progress through the game is really kind of weird. You hit certain enemies and it will randomly fall to the ground, same if you hit one of the actual candles up the top. A lot of these items include crosses, holy water, time clocks, knives, and much more. The main one that makes this game awesome is the holy water, or the firebomb for you religion haters. When fighting every boss, this one item is so effective. If you want an easier time fighting the bosses, including the Grim Reaper, which makes this boss an entire joke, then you use this. You get a ton of hearts in this game, and these are your ammo. Getting ammo and getting at least 3 throws makes an easy time for the bosses, except Dracula, but really folks, he is the final bad guy in the game. I understand making this dude super hard. There's nothing wrong with making the final boss super hard, because he's the ultimate boss for your game. In fact, I feel as though that would be a sin to do otherwise. The boss in this game, without the power-ups, can be fair, but definitely challenging. But some can be even beaten by means of not even moving. Look at the first boss. I didn't really have to move that much up here. The control in this game for me is pretty good. The only thing for me is the jump. Like everyone else points out, it is super annoying. You have to hold the button right and then make Simon jump in order to go the right midair. You cannot control your jump. Okay, again, this has been talked about for forever, but my goodness, you can't make the jump move in midair? How stupid is this? Seriously, could it be too much that earlier the year that we got Super Mario Bros. And you could control your jump in midair? But what the heck's Simon Belmont's excuse? Is he too fat? The stupidity of the design aside, I have to say actually compliments the game's design. Now listen, hear me out. I only get pissy because there's no excuse for him not to be able to control his jump in midair. But due to the fact from what I can see, it's not too many hard jumps in this game. There's not really a need to control your jump in midair, as I feel as though when I die from a bottomless pit or an enemy knocks me into the bottomless pit, it's my fault. and it's not the game's fault. Sure, it is a bit frustrating. I feel like Konami really went out of their way to design the levels in a way where there's a challenge, but it's not totally unfair. And I mean, I may be alone in this, but I didn't find Castlevania that balls to the wall hard. I mean, sure, exceptions have to be the final room before you actually get to the Grim Reaper, but I figured that out too. All you have to do is spam your whip and holy water, and bam, you get to the end. And you still have enough to take on the Grim Reaper and make him a joke. Now again, hear me out. This game is hard, but it's not as hard as other NES games. For example, I tried Battletoads for the first time, and that game is hard because the level design really sucked. Like, really, really sucked. But this game, the level design is actually good. And it's because of one simple thing that other NES games had major issues with. The game is not random with the enemies with weird patterns. But because of the fact that the jumps are also not too terribly taxing, I can usually jump and make the platform and jump again or use my whip to kill the enemy, which to me is something I love about Castlevania. The platforming is so satisfying that even though I died a whole bunch, it kept me going and I wanted to see what was next so frickin' badly. I couldn't put the game down. And yes, I did use save states, but it was still frustrating at some points. But honestly, I could have cared less. The game is really fun, and to me, it's one of the greatest games I've really ever played. And not only is this game fun, but the sounds along with a masterful soundtrack are super amazing. The songs in this game will stick in your head forever. I will say this has some of my favorite music on the system. I have stated before that I'm not a huge fan of NES music, but this game, oh yes, I am a fanboy when it comes to the soundtrack. This soundtrack gets my ears horsey going, and I ain't afraid to say that. So with all the praise that I gave this game, what would I do to say to somebody who's wanting to get into this game or into the series? Well, for one, if you really don't like difficult games, this may not be the game for you. But if you want to get into the series or get into old school NES, I'd say go for it. Because you literally have nothing to lose except for the fact that you could be completely missing out on a game you love. I love this game, and I really feel like this game is a masterpiece. Is it perfect? No, not really. But it is a great game, and in the midst of the games that I'm not really too fond of, this is bar none one of the best games I've ever played. And to be quite honest, this is probably my second favorite NES game ever. We will get to my favorite NES game this season, and I can promise you that. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you in the next episode.